Let me ask you a question. What do you think of when you hear the words black gold? No, it's not oil. You can buy it at the store or order it in a restaurant. If you can afford it, of course. Caviar. Yes, I'm talking about caviar, one of the most expensive foods in the world. Beluga caviar exists thanks to the sturgeons, these amazing fish that, can you imagine it, are as old as dinosaurs, a species that is 200 million years old. However, things are not going well for them today. Simply imagine, who wouldn't want to catch a female sturgeon with caviar? Due to overfishing, or due to damming of rivers and changes of the river bottom, some sturgeon species have disappeared, and others are on the brink of extinction. There are 27 sturgeon species in the world, 4 of which can be found in the Black Sea and the Danube River: beluga, stellate sturgeon, Russian sturgeon, and sterlet. There used to be ship sturgeon and European sturgeon too, but these species are now considered extinct in the region. Sterlet is the smallest among the lower Danube sturgeons. It reaches the mere 3 to 4 kilograms, which is tiny according to sturgeon standards, and it lives only in the Danube. Out of all sturgeon species, this is the one that starts spawning the earliest. This is why you will often find it in sturgeon farms. Now that I've told you about this small guy, let me introduce you to the others. Meet the beluga. This fish can reach up to 7 meters in length and the impressive 1,500 kilograms, and it may live over 100 years. Cool, right? A real champion of a fish. It's true that it's been ages since the last catch of such a giant. Today, most belugas range between 2 and 2.5 meters, and they weigh about 150 up to 200 kilograms. No big deal, right? Beluga sturgeon starts spawning quite late, when it reaches its 13th year, and what's more, they don't spawn every year. In fact, this is the largest freshwater migratory fish in the world, and it lives in the Danube. Stellate sturgeon looks really strange. Look at its long nose. More than half its head is its nose. The Russian sturgeon you can easily recognize by the strange stars on its back. The beluga sturgeon, stellate sturgeon, and Russian sturgeon all live in the Black Sea and spawn in the Danube River. Look at the huge distance they cross just to spawn. It would have been nice if it was all that simple, though. When the sturgeon is ready to spawn, it swims over to the Danube, spawns there, a myriad of small fish appear, and it's ready to calmly head back to the sea. Actually, if this was the case, we would not be worried at all. Yet simply imagine waters full of sturgeons with loads of caviar. Poachers would immediately turn up and they would want to catch the fish. This is the first challenge sturgeon face. They need to escape illegal fishing. If they manage, they will survive. And here comes the next challenge. How about these dams that people have built and all these hydroelectric power plants? Just try and find a small gap to squeeze through. If you're a 300-kilogram sturgeon, you stand no chance. This is exactly the problem with the Iron Gates dams built on the Danube River. The flowing water of the river here becomes the standing water of the dam, thus gradually changing both the river bottom and the species that can live there. Many migratory sturgeons remain trapped under the dam and cannot continue their journey. Imagine, you have been moving along the same road for decades, and then suddenly, bam! A barrier blocks your path. Maybe in the future, a passage for fish can be built at these massive dams, but until then, sturgeon must spawn below the dams. The sturgeon spawns these hundreds and even millions of eggs, it's caviar, hoping that at least some of them will survive. And that's it. It heads back to the sea. Survival is their problem. The caviar eggs need some time, a week or two, and then they're ready to hatch. How about food? Well, the first few days they can rely on these special food bags attached to their bodies. Yet, they use them up very quickly. Then the young sturgeons need to find plankton, tiny river organisms. They also need other, small animals to feed on. And this is just the beginning, since it's time for the long journey to the sea. You remember that the Danube sturgeons, apart from sterlet, live in salty water. Unfortunately, many of the newly hatched fish will not survive the long journey. They may turn into food for predatory fish, like the European perch, the Welsh catfish, or the pike. They may not survive in the polluted waters. And then, don't imagine that dinner is waiting for them all ready and served. Oh look, some small sturgeons coming this way. Let's help and feed them. No, no way. They have to fight for their food. And when they finally reach the sea, sturgeons may get caught in fishing nets. Apart from caviar, sturgeon meat is also a delicacy, so buyers are easily found. Remember, catching sturgeons of any size and age is strictly banned in the lower Danube. The sturgeons that survive this long journey continue their life in the sea. They feed there, grow up, grow old, and during certain periods in their life, they repeat this whole journey again and again. Until 100 years ago, the waters of both the Danube River and the Black Sea were full of sturgeon. I'm not exaggerating. However, knowing how many obstacles and threats these fish face, it is no wonder their numbers are constantly decreasing. And they're such special and ancient animals that we should really try to protect them. They're part of the historical, natural, and cultural heritage of the Danube Basin region. If they disappear, this will also lead to the extinction of other species, and then others. In short, not a very happy tale. So here comes the important question. How can you and I help them? You've already taken the first step. You know there is a problem, and you have the basic information. So go ahead, tell your friends about sturgeon. Tell them how ancient and how fascinating they are, how they travel thousands of kilometers simply to spawn. And now that I mentioned spawning, let's go back to the beginning when we talked about caviar. You should never eat caviar or meat from wild sturgeon because they're illegal. Always ask where it comes from and tell others that wild sturgeon should be protected. If you're buying caviar, the tin must be labeled, and you should be able to see detailed information such as the type of fish, whether it is wild-caught or bred in a farm, and the country of origin. If you are in the European Union and see a sturgeon caviar tin being sold without this label, send a signal to the respective agency. They will respond. Also, you can always contact nature conservation organizations such as WWF. They will be happy to tell you what you can do in your region to help protect the Danube's treasure, the sturgeons.